I was looking for this specific program to give some assistance to my marriage. And while it was not stated to me, or I didn't do research and say, oh, this course is going to cure any marital ails I had, as much as I just thought the idea of what my wife had experienced herself a few years ago when she took the course. And I also went online and listened to some testimonies. And I said, you know what, that might help me be a better me, which would make my marriage better. I learned to use the staff, STAFF. I've actually talked to people about that. They all have been encouraged by me explaining that meant stop, think, ask, feel, and focus. I'm finding that I am able to cope with some situations that have arisen anew in a much better way than I might have without the benefit of having learned what I've learned in this course. But also, and probably just as importantly, I've been able to look back at some things that have occurred in the past. We had some really interesting sessions over the weeks in this course for things. You had asked me originally what was my uh, thought process or desire as far as taking the course. Well, there was some unintended positive results that had to do with me looking back into my story of who I was and what my story always was, compared to taking a different view and making that into a different story without changing the facts of the story, but just changing the way I looked at myself. It really was very profound. What do I think of as the duo coaches? I felt I had an advantage. And my advantage was with my duo coaches is that I had my duo coaches to myself. I'm not suggesting that that is always going to occur. It just so happened I signed up and it was for a class that was going to be just men, because it's been very wholly successful with women. And in the last graduating class, there was a gentleman who took part. So he was the first man that taken part in this course, but he also was with a group of women, and which was positive for everyone involved. And then the thought from the duo coaches was that, look, it would make sense to have this same class with just men for the things that they had picked up, even from the women who said they thought it would be good for men. So I signed on gung ho. They're tough. You got to be careful because they know how to push back gently. They know how to push back a little, a little firmer. And so there's a lot I have to say and think about my duo coaches. And I will conclude and say it's all positive. There's a couple, and I keep these with me. The first one is the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The other one is turn down the volume of your negative inner voice and create a nurturing inner voice to take its place. And again, that goes along with the prior quote, but it's we have control. It's sort of like we don't have to walk around as victims. I can look inside instead of beating myself up. And whether people from outside understand that or not really is immaterial. Uh, we can't judge people by what we think. It's how we look at ourselves. And it took me I wrestled with that for a while, but I had the idea of nurturing myself. And this is not self-deception. This is a more of a self-promotion, uh, self-help. But creating a nurturing inner voice to take the place of that negative, the volume of the negative inner voice. Yes, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Yes, yes, and yes. Again, it depends on how honest the men will be and how much they can handle the pushback of some areas where they have been fairly comfortable, perhaps. Um, but if they go in with a open attitude, a willing attitude, a desire to find out some uh, things about themselves that's been there and it may seem to be new, or maybe it's just been covered up for some time. Extraordinary. I warned my duo coaches that I would be looking to connect with them in the future. That these several weeks in this program uh, was something that was great for me. I developed what I think we termed it, the duo coaches and I, a safe place. And so you don't want to have a safe place in, albeit not necessarily abruptly, but it's still ended. And if you have something that's really good, you don't want it to end. So the idea of having a lifetime, I've never heard of that before. I think it's just extraordinary that I have all of the resources. I have not gone back and listened to every single interview. I'm looking forward to that because again, there were some times when some things were discussed and really examined very fairly. And I don't want to sound like um, you guys are so tough that you're beyond. I don't want to put it that way, but there was some real good um, pushback. And if we were talking in the vernacular, like there'd be no nonsense. It was all real. I I know I can sound like a infomercial for the program, but the reality is the program is much more than what one would think it is looking at it. It's just it's have more depth. It's certainly wider, um, more profound in so many different respects. It's worth more than what it costs as far as money in your pocket. It's a very good investment, money well spent. With the duo coaches effectively pushing back on comments I'd made, it took me to a place I did not anticipate, did not expect, did not even consider. But once I was there, it was clear that my duo coaches, uh, very well experienced in these areas, um, was able to cause some breakthroughs. I think that's the best way I can look at it. Some breakthroughs. It caused to be able to discuss some things that I had never, ever, ever discussed previously was very worthwhile.